Comfort feels good. That's why it's dangerous. It whispers that you've done enough, that you deserve to rest, that you can always start again tomorrow. Slowly, without realizing it, you begin to mistake comfort for peace and ease for happiness. But comfort doesn't bring peace, it dulls the spirit. It keeps you entertained, distracted, and asleep. It gives you the illusion of control while quietly stealing your strength. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you trade potential for momentary relief. You begin to shrink, not because you're incapable, but because you no longer demand anything from yourself. Comfort is not the reward for growth, it's the resistance to it. It keeps you the same while convincing you that you're fine. Discomfort, in contrast, is honest. It exposes you. It forces you to confront what you've avoided, your fears, your weaknesses, your limits. Discomfort isn't there to punish you. It's there to wake you up. When life becomes uncomfortable, it's signaling that something inside you is ready to evolve. Growth is never silent. It arrives disguised as struggle. The ache of discipline, the sting of rejection, the anxiety of uncertainty, these are not enemies. They are the teachers of maturity. Discomfort is the raw edge of transformation. It burns away illusion and brings you face to face with your real self, the one buried beneath excuses and avoidance. You cannot awaken without feeling pain, because pain is the sound of your old limits breaking. The tragedy of comfort is that it numbs not only pain but also purpose. When you spend your life chasing convenience, you lose your hunger for meaning. You stop asking, "What could I become?" and start settling for what's easiest to maintain. Discomfort reverses that decay. It shocks you back into consciousness. It reminds you that being alive means to strive, to struggle, to reach. Think about the times you truly changed. It was never during the calm seasons, but in the storms, the heartbreaks, the failures, and the moments you thought you couldn't go on. Those were the awakenings. Discomfort doesn't kill you. It kills the part of you that refuses to grow. That's why it feels painful, because it's burning away what's no longer needed. The strongest people are not those who avoid pain. They are those who seek discomfort voluntarily, because they understand that struggle builds strength. Waking up early, holding yourself accountable, doing what scares you, these acts of chosen discomfort train your mind to endure what others avoid. Every time you push beyond comfort, you expand the borders of who you are. You develop endurance, focus, and confidence not through ease, but through challenge. Discipline is the art of intentionally inviting discomfort into your life so that you can grow on your own terms instead of waiting for life to force you. When you learn to choose discomfort, you no longer fear it. You begin to see it for what it truly is, the gateway to mastery. When you embrace discomfort, something extraordinary happens. Your mind wakes up. You stop living on autopilot. You become more aware, more capable, more alive. Every challenge starts to reveal meaning. The struggle itself becomes a source of pride because you realize you are not breaking, you are awakening. Discomfort connects you back to life in its raw, authentic form. It teaches you resilience, humility, and gratitude. It shows you that you are far more capable than you once believed. Comfort will always call you back. It will promise safety, but safety without growth is decay. The one who chooses discomfort chooses awakening, and in doing so, they step into the greatest truth of all, that life begins at the edge of what feels bearable, and everything beyond that edge is transformation. There's a profound difference between suffering that happens to you and suffering that you choose. Life will always bring pain through loss, failure, and uncertainty, but voluntary struggle transforms that pain into power. When you choose your struggle, you give meaning to your suffering. You're no longer a victim of circumstance. You become an architect of resilience. Most people spend their lives avoiding difficulty, hoping comfort will protect them, but it's the opposite. The more you avoid pain, the weaker you become, and the more fragile your peace grows. Voluntary struggle is not self-punishment, it's self-respect. It's the conscious act of stepping into discomfort because you understand that strength cannot be gifted, it must be earned. The mind and body grow in the same way through resistance. A muscle that never lifts weight atrophies. A mind that never faces challenge decays. Strength only emerges when something within you is forced to endure what it once thought impossible. That's why burden is sacred. It's the pressure that shapes potential into power. When you take on responsibility voluntarily, whether it's the discipline to work harder, the courage to face fear, or the will to stand up after failure, you train your spirit to carry more than it did yesterday. The person who embraces struggle on purpose doesn't seek pain for its own sake. They seek growth through it. The pain is temporary, but the strength it builds lasts a lifetime. Avoidance may bring temporary relief, but it always carries a hidden cost, fragility. Every time you run from discomfort, you teach your mind that it cannot handle challenge. You make your world smaller, your tolerance thinner, and your confidence weaker. Avoidance builds a soft spirit, one that breaks easily under pressure. Voluntary struggle, on the other hand, builds resilience because it reconditions the mind to see difficulty as opportunity. When you willingly expose yourself to challenge physically, mentally, emotionally, you build immunity to fear. You realize that what you once called impossible was merely untested. The more you face voluntarily, the less life can threaten you. Strength, then, is not the absence of pain, it's the mastery of it. Voluntary struggle requires discipline, the kind that acts not from emotion, but from commitment. You don't wake up every day wanting to train, to learn, to confront your flaws, or to take responsibility for your failures. But you do it anyway. That's where transformation begins, in the space between what you feel like doing and what must be done. When you choose to struggle voluntarily, to challenge yourself beyond convenience, you build character that can withstand chaos. The world will never stop testing you, but discipline ensures that you are prepared for it. It transforms hardship into habit and habit into strength. Discipline is the daily expression of voluntary struggle, the constant reminder that growth is never given, it is chosen. In the end, voluntary struggle gives life meaning. You begin to see that the purpose of pain isn't to destroy you, but to shape you into someone capable of more. When you face adversity by choice, when you walk into the fire willingly, you strip fear of its control. You learn to trust yourself, to endure yourself, and eventually to master yourself. Every challenge faced willingly expands your capacity for life itself. The person who has endured voluntarily carries an invisible strength, a quiet power that comes from knowing they can handle whatever comes. That's what real confidence is. Not arrogance, but the unshakable belief that no matter how heavy life gets, you've trained your soul to lift it. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, as if it were an enemy. But pain is not here to punish you, it's here to instruct you. It's the mind and body's language for truth, the alarm bell of the soul. Pain doesn't mean life has turned against you. It means life is trying to get your attention. When you feel pain, physical, emotional, or spiritual, something deep within you is signaling that a change is necessary. Maybe you're living out of alignment with your values, avoiding responsibility, clinging to something that's already over. Pain is the body's way of saying, wake up, something needs to be healed. The tragedy is that most people silence the signal instead of decoding it. They numb the pain instead of listening to what it's trying to say. Every form of transformation begins with discomfort, and every discomfort begins with pain. Think about it. Muscles only grow by tearing, the mind only expands by confronting its limits, and the heart only matures by breaking open. Pain is not a sentence of suffering, it's the initiation into growth. It exposes weakness, forces reflection, and pushes you towards strength. The moments that hurt you the most are often the ones that shape you the deepest. The pain of failure teaches humility. The pain of loss teaches gratitude. The pain of struggle teaches endurance. Without pain, you'd never evolve, you'd remain the same, trapped in a comfortable cage. Pain, then, is the price of expansion, the signal that evolution is happening inside you, whether you asked for it or not. Pain alone doesn't destroy you, resistance to pain does. When you fight what hurts, deny it, or refuse to face it, the pain amplifies. But when you acknowledge it, lean into it, and ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" you begin to transform it. Pain demands interpretation. It's neither good nor bad until you decide what to do with it. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. The difference lies in perspective. Pain resisted becomes suffering. Pain understood becomes wisdom. The act of listening to your pain, of treating it as a guide instead of a punishment, is what separates those who grow from those who stay trapped in cycles of avoidance. Pain won't disappear by denial, but it will lose its power once you understand its purpose. To truly learn from pain, you must have the discipline to sit with it. That means resisting the urge to escape through distraction, comfort, or anger. Sitting with pain doesn't mean surrendering to despair. It means studying it with honesty. It's in those moments of stillness, when you stop running, that pain begins to reveal its lessons. You start to see the deeper patterns, how your fears shape your choices, how your avoidance limits your potential, how your attachments create suffering. Pain forces confrontation with truth, and truth always hurts before it heals. But every moment you endure consciously, every time you face discomfort with openness instead of resistance, you expand your capacity for life. Sitting with pain doesn't weaken you, it strengthens your relationship with reality. Once you learn to listen to pain, it stops controlling you. You realize that it was never your enemy. It was your greatest teacher in disguise. Pain refines the soul the way fire refines gold. It burns away illusion, weakness, and pride, leaving behind clarity, strength, and humility. You begin to trust the process, even when it hurts, because you understand that pain is temporary, but the growth it produces is permanent. Every scar becomes a story of survival, every wound a lesson in resilience. Pain doesn't define you, it reveals you. And once you accept that, you stop fearing life's trials, because you know now, pain was never a life sentence. It was a signal calling you toward your next evolution. Discomfort is life's way of reminding you that you're still alive, that you haven't yet reached your final form. It's the sharp edge of growth, the moment where what you are begins to stretch toward what you could be. Discomfort is not cruelty, it's communication. It's how life tells you that the limits you once accepted are no longer enough for who you're becoming. Yet most people treat discomfort like a disease to be avoided at all costs. They seek constant ease, constant pleasure, constant certainty, and in doing so, they shrink. Comfort may protect you from pain, but it also protects you from progress. Discomfort, on the other hand, expands you. It breaks the mental walls that confine your potential and forces you to inhabit a larger version of yourself. Every meaningful expansion begins with tension. Think of how muscles grow by tearing slightly under resistance, healing, and then returning stronger. The same law governs your mind, your character, your spirit. When life challenges you, when you're uncertain, exhausted, or afraid, it's applying resistance to your potential. The discomfort you feel in those moments is not a punishment, it's an invitation. It's the universe's way of saying, "There's more in you, come and find it." Without discomfort, your identity stays static, your vision stays narrow, and your strength remains dormant. Discomfort stretches the boundaries of your endurance and forces your hidden capacities into existence. What once terrified you becomes tolerable. What was once impossible becomes familiar. That is how the self expands, not in comfort, but in confrontation. Discomfort is the threshold between who you are and who you're capable of being. When you reach the point where you want to quit, when your mind screams for relief, when every instinct tells you to stop, That's where transformation begins. The old version of you starts to dissolve under pressure, and the new one begins to take form. It's painful because the self resists change. It clings to the familiar even when the familiar is limiting. But if you push through that resistance, you discover strength you didn't know you had. Every time you endure something difficult, an argument, a setback, a failure, a loss, your inner capacity expands. You become more patient, more grounded, more resilient. Discomfort stretches you until you can carry more life without collapsing under its weight. Discomfort also awakens awareness. It forces you to pay attention to your habits, your fears, your attachments. In comfort, awareness fades. In discomfort, it sharpens. When you are challenged, you begin to see who you truly are, not who you pretend to be. You see your limits, your insecurities, your triggers, and if you have the courage to face them, you also see your potential. Discomfort strips away illusion. It removes the masks you wear to feel safe. It doesn't just expand your endurance, it expands your consciousness. You start to realize that every difficult experience carries wisdom, and that every hardship contains a lesson. Discomfort transforms from something you fear into something you value, because it becomes a mirror reflecting your truest self. When you stop running from discomfort, you begin to evolve. You realize that life doesn't want you to stay small. It wants you to grow into the fullest expression of your potential. Discomfort is the space where that transformation happens. It builds humility by showing you your weaknesses, and it builds confidence by showing you that you can survive them. Over time, you stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities for expansion. You understand that every test, every pain, every uncertainty is stretching you toward your higher self. Discomfort expands you because it demands that you rise, and when you do, you become someone capable of more truth, more strength, and more meaning. That's the gift of discomfort. It doesn't just test who you are, it reveals who you could be. Every transformation in life follows one eternal law. You cannot gain without giving something up. Growth always asks for sacrifice. You cannot become who you are meant to be while clinging to who you used to be. Transformation is not a gentle process. It's an act of destruction and creation happening at once. You must let parts of yourself die, your old habits, your comfort zones, your false identities, so that something truer can be born. Most people want change without cost. They want the result without the surrender. But that's not how life works. You don't step into a new chapter by carrying every piece of the last one with you. Transformation begins the moment you stop negotiating with what must end. Real change always feels like loss at first because it is loss, the loss of what's familiar. The mind fears this process because it cannot imagine who it will be without its old patterns. That's why transformation is often painful. It feels like breaking apart from yourself. But what's actually breaking is not your essence, it's your limitations. It's the version of you built for survival, not for growth. The moment you stop protecting that old self, you create space for evolution. Think of a snake shedding its skin. It's a vulnerable act, but a necessary one. The skin that once protected it eventually becomes too tight. Likewise, the identity that once kept you safe eventually becomes a cage. To evolve, you must allow it to fall away. Transformation demands that you sacrifice comfort, because comfort is the enemy of depth. Growth never happens in the known. It happens at the edge of fear and uncertainty. The moment you step outside what's predictable, you step into the realm of potential. But that requires courage, the courage to walk without guarantees, to endure discomfort, to keep moving even when the destination is unclear. You cannot have transformation without risk. Certainty must die for possibility to live. Every great life, every story of true change, began with someone who chose the unknown over the familiar. That's the real sacrifice, not pain itself, but the willingness to live without the illusion of safety. Letting go is not passive, It's an act of discipline. It requires strength to release what once gave you meaning. It's easier to cling to the past, to your old roles, to your excuses, to the people or beliefs that no longer serve your becoming. But every attachment has a cost. The energy you use to hold on to what's dying is the energy you deny to what's being born. Transformation requires faith, not blind optimism, but the trust that the pain of change is worth the person you will become on the other side. Letting go is not abandonment, it's alignment. It's choosing to prioritize truth over comfort, purpose over fear, and evolution over stagnation. When the sacrifice is complete, when you've let go of what's false and endured the burning of what's familiar, something extraordinary happens. You begin to rise from the ashes of your own surrender. The pain fades, the fear quiets, and a deeper peace takes root. Not the fragile peace of avoidance, but the steady calm of authenticity. You no longer live reacting to life. You begin to create it. The self that emerges from sacrifice is not weaker. It's purified, concentrated, alive. You understand that transformation was never about becoming someone else. It was about revealing the person who was always hidden beneath your comfort and fear. Sacrifice is not loss, it's exchange. You give up the lesser so that the greater within you can finally breathe.